Let's look at raising kids. A long time ago, well, not all that long ago, but while the kids were still home, I did something that some people would consider sacrilege. I thought about writing a book, and I called it The 10 Commandments of Raising Kids. I mean, gone. What human being could say they're coming out with another set of 10 Commandments? But I did. I didn't write the book, but I thought about it. And then I went, wait a minute, God had the 2 great commandments, so I got to have great commandments too. So there's 3 great commandments of raising kids. I like these because I know they're very good. First one, the most important one, it goes after God. You shall love your child's other parent with all your heart, soul, and mind. You want to know the single best thing about raising kids, and if you want to do a halfway decent job of raising kids, is you love your spouse like crazy. Remember when we put on the vertical priority scale? Oh my goodness, I was so tickled last night because I'm gone. The Holy Spirit said some things that I've never really quite said before, to be honest. And the reason is, all these things tie together. That vertical priority scale has a purpose. It says the spouse is the head of the kids. You want to do a good job of raising your kids, you make sure that you love the other, like in my case, that I love Rena above everybody. That's why I told the kids, don't think you'll ever beat your mama. You won't. Okay? Number 2, you shall love your child like yourself. That's a good one. This one I added after they grew up. It says you must earn and retain the respect of your child so you can lead him or her successfully. Let me explain that a little bit. In the real 10 Commandments, what's the first commandment that deals with people to people?
Honor your father and mother.
Honor your father and mother. First 3 are dealing with us to God. After that, he swings into honor your father and mother. That to him was more important than anything because God put them in a ranked order. You know, it's his choice. I personally think that number 10 kind of affects all the others, but he put them in the order he wanted them in. Okay? So that my son has to honor me and his mother. Okay? Honor means that you don't badmouth them, that you don't do things to hurt them, that you don't somehow denigrate them in public or other things. If your father or your mother, let's say your father was an alcoholic and your mother was a prostitute, you know, if that's what you had, that's what you had. You still have to honor them. But that's as far as God said you had to go. He did not say that you have to respect them. If my father was an alcoholic and never did anything good in his life to help his family, I do not have to respect that. Okay? And the fact is that I certainly am not going to follow his advice if I can't respect him. And so if you want to keep having an impact into your kids, you have to do something to earn, first of all, be the kind of parent that they would respect, and then you have to work to retain it. It's like everything else. You can lose it. So here's my challenge in life for Rena and I. We can't quit growing at this point, because if we do, then our kids completely grow past us, and they don't need us for nothing. They don't. Why would they come back and say, hey, Dad, what do you think about this, if they didn't respect our opinion? Or why would they go to their mother and say, gee, Mom, in this situation, how would you act? If they had no respect for how you ever acted in your life. They wouldn't. Nor should they. They shouldn't. But if you work and do what you need to do to keep growing and keep going, yeah, that they can respect you, then maybe they'll come and they'll say in a situation comes up that's never come up for them before, what do you think about that? And that to me is one of the great commandments of raising kids. It means that we as parents never get to quit until we die. That doesn't mean we interfere, because that's a big, see, I would lose respect if I, for instance, when Matthew and Christine get married, as Matthew knows, and I know that Christine will soon learn, they're on their own. They're now husband and wife, and that's the way God made it. It is not for Rena and I to interfere in their life. Does that mean that we don't love them? No. But it does mean that, guess what? God raised them up. You know, when I was their age and I got married to Rena, do you think I was going to let my dad tell me how to live my life? Nope, I wasn't. And was I going to let my mother, who really would have loved to do that? Nope, I wasn't. But if I respect them, I'll still go back and say, when the kids come along and they're driving you crazy, gee, Dad, when I was that age, like Jimmy is now, what did you do? What did you think? Because I want to know what that is, you know. And then my dad passed away when I truly did want to ask him, what did you think about that? But I didn't get that opportunity. So you have to work at that. Okay. Let's look at the 10 Commandments of raising kids. This first one you should have pretty easily by now. You shall place the child below their other parent, but above all else in priority. You all know that. You know the priority scale. They're above your job. If your job comes before your kids in importance in your life, you have a serious challenge. Number 2, you shall train the morals of your child. Straight out of the Bible. Proverbs 22:6. Train a child in the way he should grow, and when he gets older, he will not depart from it. That one doesn't take a whole lot. It's our job to train. And guess what the Bible said? When it talks about you, it's talking about Mama and Daddy. I know last night I caught a couple of eyebrows when I said that Hillary Clinton couldn't hold a candle to Rena, but guess what? Hillary Clinton's one of those that thinks it takes a village. I don't. It takes a mom and dad. Now, I had my kids involved in school and other things and all of that, but God wasn't going to say, well, gee, Bill, when you were raising Matthew, what did Dave Barry, the principal, do? Well, I don't know, but I want to blame it all on him. He's going to say, I'm blaming nothing on Dave Barry, Bill. That was your job. Don't be thinking you can pass all this off on the village or someone else. You're the parent. It's your job. Third one. You shall increase the responsibility of your child gradually and plan for their growth in your time to let go. In the Jewish culture, you know, when they do their bar mitzvah or whatever it is when they're 12, they talk about that. They sit down and they have this conversation. And I heard this. I first learned this when Jimmy, our oldest, was about 10. And I'm glad I heard it then because it really helped. But they talk about that the father and the son get together and talk and says, you know, up until this time I've always been the father and you've always been the son. And what I say goes. And that's the way it was supposed to be. But now, son, you're going to start to become a man. And so we need to change that from here to here to that we have a more even relationship. I will still be your father. I will always be your father. But rather than I'm always going to be the one that tells you what to do, that's going to start to change now. And you get to start making decisions on your own because you need to grow up and be a man on your own. And I heard that and I went, whoa. I wish someone would have explained that to me a lot earlier. Because you see, when a child is 2 years old, they're not able to take care of themselves. But when a child is 14, they've got to start thinking some for themselves. Now, some of you may not like it. You say, but my mom and daddy love to have me home when I'm 30 years old and living with them all my life. Maybe. But that's not why I raised my kids. That's not why we had our kids, or that's not why God gave us our kids. Understand, God gave Rena and I 3 children, and we love them all dearly. But He gave us to them to raise them so that they would grow up, become men and women that could serve Him on their own, and go out and do what God intended for them to do. Not so that mama and daddy could have the company of their children all their life and go, oh, isn't this grand and special? So when you're raising your kids, you increase their responsibilities. I told my oldest son, Jimmy, when he was 12 years old, I did that kind of Jewish talk with him, and I said, son, you know, this is what we got to do, because when you're 18, you're going to be on your own. We got to start doing this. I said, so this is how we're going to work this. I said, I'm going to start to let you make decisions. And if they're going to have a negative effect but not ruin your life, I'll let you make the mistake. I said, the only time I will step in after this is if it's such a decision that your mother and I believe is so catastrophic that it could be something you wouldn't come back from. It's just way bigger decisions you could possibly deal with. Other than that, I'm not going to get involved. And I says, and if I have to get involved with a decision you made, I will, and you probably won't like it, because you know what we expect. Oh, this next one, this is a good one. You shall not buy your child everything you can afford. I don't care if you can afford it or not. You don't buy them everything you can afford. Why? Do you think that I'm the son of God? Yes, I believe I am. Not son of God like Jesus, don't get me wrong, but I'm one of his children. God could give me anything. All he would have to do is go boom, and I would have a 10,000-foot house with a swimming pool, 2 Mercedes and everything else. If God said, Bill, you're going to have it, I'd have it. Wow, he hasn't done that. I wonder why. Maybe it's because he loves me enough to know it's not in my best interest. We're not even talking about buying them what you can't afford. I'm talking even if you got the cash and it's no big deal, you don't buy them everything they want. Because in all of life, everyone's going to have disappointments. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett don't have enough money between the two of them to buy Nashville, Tennessee. And you all don't even know how little Nashville, Tennessee is. I don't care how rich you are, you can't afford everything. And you have to learn to live with it. But if you teach your kids, and you've learned not to go into debt and stuff growing up, Lord. But if you happen to be in a family where they want, oh, I can afford this, so I'll buy it for you. I can afford this, so I'll buy it for you. You have never learned to deal with the fact that you can't have anything in life, and it gets tougher the older you get. If you love your kids, do not buy them everything you can afford. Ever. I'm not saying don't do anything for them, but just because you can afford it, it's not the thing. You should be able to stand your ground on issues of importance. I can't tell you what those issues would be for you. For me, here's what I said was an issue of importance. If it's going to make a difference in their life 5 years from now, it makes a difference now. If it's not going to make a difference in their life 5 years from now and later, then I don't care what it is that happened now. It's not important. It really isn't. It has to do with character development and what's going to happen to them. And so if you felt it was really important, the word that I use with my kids is, you got to decide what you're going to fall on your sword for. There are some issues in life that are important enough to fall on your sword for. There are other issues that might be important to me, but I'm not dying for it. But there are some, especially there are some God issues that I don't care if the whole world turns against me, every single one of you plus Rena, I'm not changing my mind. They are that important to me. I'll fall on my sword for it. And when you're a parent, you've got to decide and go, that's where it ends. I'm not going to put up with that. Regardless of what anybody else says, I always told my kids, don't even come home and say, but I want to do this because so-and-so is getting to do that. That's like the dumbest reason you could give to me. Because I'm not their parent. I don't care what their parents are letting them do. I'm your parent. You better have a better reason than that. Number 6, you shall allow your child to ask questions about any topic and then answer them. You know, a lot of times we sit there and say, oh my, do we really want to do that? Yeah, you really do. You don't have to give them big detailed answers. If they're 4 years old to ask you a question, it ain't like they want to know Einstein's law. If they do, you got a real problem on your hands because that kid's smarter than you are and you're in deep doo-doo. So don't go there. But I mean, you know, give them an answer that answers that age. But to say, especially a lot of times, and I don't know if they do, I don't know if any parents over here would ever do that, but in America, there's parents that go, because I said so. Well, now how stupid is that? That doesn't mean anything. Here's the point. You know, we raise kids and we think that somehow we can treat them differently, but kids aren't stupid. Let your kids ask questions and answer them. If you can't give them a reason for why you believe it's important, then you can't give them an answer. You're their parent, for goodness sakes. Do your job. Oh. You should be able to apologize if needed. Oh. In this regard, Jimmy gets the stories again. That's because I screwed up with him all the time. By the time Matt and Megan came along, I went, whoops, I already did that with the oldest one. Let's not do that one again. Came home from work one day. Jimmy was 4 years old. I was mad. Bad day at work. And Jimmy we lived in this little circle in a cul-de-sac thing, and he was down in the street where he wasn't supposed to be, but there's all his little buddies with him, and they're down there playing. And I get out of the car at home, and my voice can really boom out. You ain't heard my voice boom out, but I'll guarantee you, when it booms out, everybody's eyes get big. I've seen pregnant women that were about to deliver, their eyes get so big that you can't see the color of their eyeballs because I'm like that to their nose, and I'm explaining how life's gonna be. And they just go, woo! We're not having this kid for 3 days. Not if I don't want you to, sweetheart. Anyway, I can holler. And I went, Jimmy, get up here. And Jimmy, being a dutiful son, because he's at 4 years old, he knows Deuteronomy. He goes, but Dad, Mom said I could be down here. I said, no, she didn't. Get your butt up here. So he comes up to the cul-de-sac, and all of his friends come with him. And I go in the house. And I go, babe, you know where Jimmy was? And she goes, where? Was he down on the street there? I went, yeah. Was he on the sidewalk? I went, yeah. I told him if they stay on the sidewalk, he could go down there. Come on. Great. Just great. I go outside. I go, Jimmy, come over here. And so all his friends are standing out in the cul-de-sac watching us, and Jimmy comes over, and I go, son, I talked to your mom, and she said you could go down there. I'm sorry, I was wrong. And Jimmy looks at me, and he goes, gives me a hug, and he goes, that's okay, Dad. I still love you. True story. Turns around, it's not done. Turns around. Walks back, gets past the garage, gets about 5 feet from his friends, but way away from me. Turns to his friends, looks back at me, turns to his friends, and then the voice you can hear through the whole neighborhood said, I told you he was wrong! And there was nothing I could do. Let me tell you, I threw him out for that. You know, the point being, I'm not saying you have to apologize about every little thing, but we are parents, and they aren't stupid, and if you screw up and make a mistake, admit it. They know you made the mistake. Jimmy knew I made the mistake. I heard, remember what number? Great Commandments number 3. What is that? Earn and retain the respect. At 4 years old, I started to earn his respect. Had I not apologized, I'd have been losing his respect. He's not stupid. I wasn't stupid. When I was that age, I knew my dad did things to us kids that was not right, and he never apologized, and I never forgave him for it either.
I want to interject here. Number 7 goes back to ego and security. Your children, your male children have egos, and your female children need security. You need to know how to deal with that in a child as well as you do in your spouse.
Yep.
And even at 4, Jimmy's security, or his ego, required that he be vindicated because he knew he was doing what was correct.
You can't treat all the kids the same. My 3 kids, if I lined them all up here, you might say, oh yeah, they're all related to you, Dad. Yeah, you might say that by looks and stuff. They are 3 completely different people. And while we try and treat them equally from the standpoint of we love them all, we try to do things fairly with them all, it doesn't mean you do what I'm saying with that one is you don't do the exact same thing with all 3 kids. I don't, or with all your children. The reason is because they all have different talents, different things, so you're going to encourage one way and one another way. I mean, you know, there's a lot of different things that you may do with one that another one doesn't need. There could be health issues. There could be a lot of reasons why. But the children should never believe or feel that one is singled out as being the #1 favorite and the rest of them are just junk. No, that's not what this, you know, it's not like that. It's that they're all, if you ask me, how do you pick between your 3 kids, who's your favorite? I don't have a favorite. Finally, whoa, this is a big one. You shall encourage each child's dreams and not live your dreams through them. if there's any area that I think parents tend to go a lot of times that they go, oh, but my child has to do this, or my child has to be that, or this or that. How do you know what your child has to be? God's the one that made them. You were just charged with raising them. He made them for His purpose, not for your purpose. But we're all kind of like that. This one was brought home to me, once again by the oldest, Jimmy. Jimmy is 6'5". He's real big now, but when he was about 12 years old, he was already 6'3". Remember I said I love sports? Loved baseball. And this kid was bigger than anybody his age. I'm going, all I got to do is work with him, get his swing down, and when he starts crushing that ball, it'll be like Babe Ruth playing with little leaguers. And I'll get to sit there and be the dad who always wanted to play big league ball, but never got the chance. But boy, oh boy, I'll be the dad of a star. Nothing. This one day, Jimmy's 12, and I says, Jimmy, do you want to go out by the garage and hit some baseballs? He goes, yeah, sure. So we go out, and I start throwing to Jimmy. Swing is still beautiful, but the eye and the bat coordination have come together. And he starts crushing the ball. And I keep throwing it, so I throw as hard as I can. I'm trying to throw the ball past him, and I can't throw the ball past him. And I'm sitting there thinking in my brain, oh yes, after all the hell I went through last year, this year is going to be something. I'm going to live large this year because the kid has arrived. We get done, we're walking into the house, and I said, so you pretty excited about playing baseball? That little goober, as big as he was, bigger than me, says, I don't think I want to play this year, Dad. Kept the same expression, just walked in the house, said, okay. Didn't tell him about that for a long, long time, because that really crushed me. But I put these up here because I've lived all of these.